question number 13, they're asking us to find the length of these two sides, or the value of x. Hopefully you recognize that since they're the same, it's like half a square, so they're the same. And hopefully you recognize that if the hypotenuse is 8, there's no way those sides could be 16. They have to be smaller. It turns out that this is a special right triangle. Normally there's a square root of 2 on the hypotenuse. When there isn't, the shortcut is to take this number and cut it in half, which will give you 4, but then it's a little longer than that. It's actually 4 times the square root of 2 on each side, which is choice C. In question number 14, they're asking us to find the sine of B. First of all, it's important that we look at angle B, that's right here, and they want the sine, so I wrote SOHCAHTOA again. Sine is always the opposite side of the angle over the hypotenuse. Opposite would be a 3, and the hypotenuse is a 5, so it's just 3 over 5, which is choice A. In question number 15, they tell us that the sine of x is 7 over 25, and if you remember from SOHCAHTOA, sine is always the opposite, so that means that this triangle should have a 7 here, and the hypotenuse should be 25. If you do a squared plus b squared is c squared, you could find, so 7 squared plus y squared equals 25 squared. It turns out that y will be 24, so I'm going to save us a little time. So just do the Pythagorean theorem and you'll get 24. And then they want you to answer what cosine would be. Remember, cosine, well, sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine is the adjacent side over hypotenuse. And tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So I'm looking for the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is 24 right here over 25. So it looks like B is a possibility, C is out, and then we also have to find the tangent of x. Tangent, remember, is either rise over run or the opposite over the adjacent. In our case, that would be 7 over 24. So the answer that has both correct ones is choice B. Question 16 says the diagram shows an 8-foot ladder, that's right here, leaning against a wall. It makes a 64-degree angle with the ground. What is the closest distance up the wall the ladder reaches means what is this length. So hopefully you know from SOHCAHTOA that we need to actually use the opposite and the hypotenuse, so we're going to use sine. So it's going to be the sine of 64 over 1 is x over 8, and then to cross multiply and solve, if you have a calculator, you can just plug in 8 times the sine of 64. If you notice, they gave us the sine of 64 is about 0.9, so a shortcut without a calculator is just to do 8 times 0.9, which is about 7.2. And if I look at the answers, none of their answers are correct. So I'm very sorry. The answer is 7.2, and you can check it on your calculator.